Hello, beautiful magical beings. We are live today with magical being David Lyon.
Hello, beautiful magical beings.
I'm hearing the echo.
We are live today with magical beings.
We got to mute the YouTube one. What's popping, people? We're having fun with technology today.
We're coming in with so many different frequencies right now. It's like echoing in different timelines and realms continuously.
You know?
Right. Okay, we're here. I think we're here. I think we're good, yeah?
Yes, we're good.
Well, hello, beautiful magical beings. We are here with David Lyon, and you just watched me be a human and try to figure out technology, and we're making it work. We're making it work. There's other things that are worse happening on Earth. So we're here right now. Today we're going to be just having a casual conversation. We're both super tapped into channeling, and I've personally been getting lots of questions recently about how to channel, how to open your channel, how to know that you're actually channeling, how to channel different sources. And David is an incredible channel, and he also teaches and hosts retreats on channeling, amongst many other things. So we'll be touching on that, and we'll also be sharing some answers to your questions. So also would love to hear, David, like, who are you? What are you? Like, what is your human? What is your soul? How are you expressing here? What gifts are you offering?
Oh, man. Well, firstly, thank you for the beautiful intro. How would I introduce myself? It's always like that tricky question, right? I guess I would say like I'm really passionate about real magic and mysticism and what it takes to embody those things in very simple and practical ways, because there's lots of fluff out there and regurgitated teachings that are just, studied from books and then just regurgitated essentially, but I think one of the things that, not even I know one of the things that we really jam on, you and I, is that everything that we share and teach comes from within. It's completely embodied. It's not something that we got from books or whatnot. And so I'm really, really passionate about showing people the practicality of magic and just how to feel more alive and liberated inside themselves. So I guess you could say I'm a mystic.
Yes, beautiful way to put it. And also, yeah, just like diving right in, I think you bring up an incredible point there where it is so important to be truly authentic. And that's not to say that books or movies or people or talks or whatever it is isn't helpful. It's just that that is a tool. That is like a bridge to get you somewhere. It's like a platform. But once you're there, you tap into your own source. And that is where you will really experience the magic. That is where the magic actually comes from, is from you, is from within, is from your authentic source. So these things, these external things and examples, and even us just like talking, can be helpful to you, and it can remind you, and it can trigger an awakening spark and energy within you that then guides you and leads you to your own inner standing of whatever it is. But that is like the most important part, is to not try to attach or try to replicate or try to arrange yourself to seem similar or like any other person's version of channeling or any type of expressing. So there's so many different types of channeling, and channeling essentially is like bringing through an energy. It's an embodiment of an energy that can manifest different abilities or physical traits or different like energies, personalities, embodiments. You can embody an energy and change, kind of like shape-shifting in a way, where you express or bring through a message that is specific to the particular energy that you are embodying. Did that kind of make sense?
oh yeah, 100%, perfect sense. And it's like I love what you shared there. Because channeling, just to complement what you said, every single person has experienced channeling in one form or another. It's not always just channeling angels and spirit guides. One of the most simplistic examples that I love to give is, that time almost everyone has had the experience where, let's say, you're giving advice to someone who you care about, and it just feels like you're so tuned into the person, and there's this effortless flow of wisdom running through you that you're just as blown away by as the other person, and you're just like, damn, yeah, that was good, right?
Yeah.
That's channeling. That's channeling your higher wisdom, your higher self, whatever labels you want to put on it. That's a
Mhm.
channeling state, where you could also bring it into another field where the musical artist who will all of a sudden just be cooking, and all of a sudden she just gets this hit that, oh my God, I need to write a song. And
Mhm.
because she feels the channel opening up, or he, and they just need to sit down and they just let it happen. So it's really this effortless flow of wisdom, of
Mhm.
creativity that's wanting to flow through you in all
Mhm.
these different forms, whether it's through writing, whether you're in the zone playing basketball and you're in that channeling state, or whether you're channeling spiritual beings.
Yep. Yep. Perfectly explained. Perfectly explained. And yeah, even as you touched on, it's not that whenever we are doing an act, we are channeling. There's a specific state. It's actually a frequency that your brain even shifts into. Your chemistry actually alters inside of your body when you do tap into and align into that channel. And it's kind of like an energy that isn't out, it's kind of like outside of yourself, but it's really always within yourself as well. But it's like a spark that's outside of yourself that kind of comes through, feels new, shifts your chemistry, and ignites something within you that then allows you to embody or manifest physically something in that way.
Exactly, 100%. And just to give people some more practicality over here, one of the most, because channeling is really all about getting out of your own way. That's why it's when you're washing the dishes, let's say, all of a sudden you're out of your own way because you're focused on something mundane. That's why all of a sudden the song or whatever will come through.
Yep.
So one of the simplest ways that you can use to get into the channeling state is by three magic words, which are I don't know. I call
Mhm.
it I call it the I don't know state. Because there's so much magic in the I don't know state. So many people have been conditioned to feel like they have to know the answer,
Right.
or they have to be able to help. But I'm sure it's I would imagine it's the same for you. But like when someone comes to me for a session, my embodiment is I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know anything. It's really a clueless state.
Yeah.
It's a
It like
clueless state, so I can get clues.
Yep, it has to be. Yeah, I find that that is necessary so that we allow the ego to release its identity. And that is actually so important to channel, especially if you are like bringing through messages or something for someone. It's important to not have your human aspects or perspectives or experiences or woundings or triggers attached to any type of like information you're trying to bring through, because then you won't be able to channel necessarily. So it's important to get out of your own way,
Yes.
exactly as you say, and to allow your own personal human identification to kind of step aside so that you can just essentially, as we've talked about before, when I begin channeling, what I do, my prep is closing, being, and clear the slate.
Mm,
I completely just clear the slate and let there be nothing. And it's essentially just like a luminous white light. It's like just luminous. That's all that it is. And I
mm.
completely just clear it and I'm just here. And then whatever is the like supposed to come through or I'm supposed to say, or a tool or a like a something that's leading me somewhere, it'll just appear.
Yes.
Here. It'll just appear, and it'll appear in different ways, always depending on different messages and different themes and different energies and who it's coming from. It'll appear in different ways, but essentially the formula is to get out of your own way and to clear the slate and to allow what is beyond you, beyond this space, to come through.
Yes. And I feel like it's also helpful, like, one of the ways that I get into this state. I love how we complement each other with this, because you go in, you do your, you do your clearing. That's, I have my own version of that as well. For me personally, what I really do a lot of is I shift into a very playful state. I shift, so if I'm in any type of seriousness or rigidity, I shift into a very playful, lighthearted state, because the vibration of spirit, the vibration of flow is a very high vibration. So if you're in a vibration of seriousness or rigidity, then you're not really in resonance with that state. So as you go towards excitement and playfulness and that I don't know state, now you're in the harmony of it, because channeling is really your most natural state. You know,
Mm.
right? There's a great quote in the Sophia Code that always stuck with me that said, "Your mind is designed to be an empty space for your heart's visions, for your heart's intuition."
Mm.
Right? Your mind is designed to be an empty space for your heart's visions.
Ah.
It's so beautifully said, and that's really what it feels like when you're in playful states, joyful states. Your mind is empty. So
Mhm.
you're very naturally in a channeling state. It's just a question of what you're choosing to attune to with your intentions.
Yeah, I find that also that's just, it's so beautiful. It's connecting so many things because not only does it feel so good in the mind, I'm sure you'll notice, like when you are channeling, when you are in that frequency of just like freedom and bringing energy through you, it feels so good. It feels like so harmonious. It
Oh
feels,
yeah.
it's like, oh, this is how I'm meant to be feeling. Like, this is how I should be feeling. Like, this is how I get to feel. And not only that, you can feel it in your body. Your brain chemistry will affect your body chemistry as well. So you observe yourself relaxing and just feeling more at ease. And that's how people are able to bring through certain energies that they channel physically, where they're better at dancing, or perhaps they bring through this style of dance that they've never had before. And that's also why when people are channeling, you'll observe their body chemistry also changes when they tap into certain states and do certain things as well. And it's
Yes.
because of the full embodiment. And just, I love that, because that is, as you say, our natural state. Channeling is our natural state.
Yes.
And so when I hear that, my being goes, okay, so what is the state beyond channeling? Is it unconsciousness? Is it
Mm.
consciousness? Is there channeling? So like, what is the other states? And it's that we're always channeling different energies. We're always embodying. We are meant to adapt and embody based on each moment, based on what the situation is presenting to us. So it makes sense for us to channel energies and to be able to shapeshift and embody different things, because truly strength is adaptability. Longevity
Yes.
is in adaptability. Longevity is in adaptability. So when we channel, essentially, we get out of our own way, we release rigid structure and confinement and limitation, and instead become free, joyful, blissful. It's like a full being upgrade altogether. It's like not just beneficial for the soul or the heart or the mind, these spiritual things. It's like, no, everything is positively affected when you allow yourself to tap into the source within you and allow your heart to speak through your mind and through your body and through all that you experience.
Yes, yes, so well said. And to in the interest of giving people somewhat of an experience over here, the analogy I love to give sometimes is because, so essentially what we're doing when we're channeling is we're just becoming very sensitive to the frequencies that are hitting our being, our field, and giving them language. We're speaking them out loud. And so to give an analogy, one of the best analogies I love to give is, imagine if you're in a swimming pool. And if you're in a swimming pool, but you're just splashing around in the pool, and you're just hyper and you're splashing, then you're not going to feel the very subtle currents that
Mhm.
are hitting your body,
Massage.
right? But if you take a second to get still inside yourself and feel your true vibration, then the waters are going to calm, and then you're just going to become more aware of the frequencies that are already present hitting your being. And that's what allows you to become a more clear channel, because you can feel the more subtle frequencies.
Mhm.
So if people want to experience, let's say right now, more of that stillness in the water,
Mhm.
what I would suggest as a practice, if we want to do something really quick over here,
Mhm.
is to just take a minute with eyes open or eyes closed, it doesn't matter, and to just have the intention to connect to your true vibration, which can be as simple as intentionally breathing up and down your spine, or breathing at 12 o'clock straight up and down you, and just keep breathing, so that as you breathe up and down your midline, you'll start to feel yourself become more vibrational, more harmonic, more in tune with your true vibration. So that the more you become in tune with your own true vibration, the more easy it will be for you to pick up on and sense other vibrations, the other currents within the water. Now, this is just a very basic practice, a foundational element. We can expand from there, but this is just to give you guys a tool to get into that vibrational resonance with your own true vibration, which is the most important part, in my opinion, in channeling, is feeling yourself so that you can be aware of those other energies.
Yes. And yeah, really everything. Everything.
Yes.
And if you are like truly authentically you, then you are honoring your purpose and mission here on earth, and thus the universe will do all that it can to support you in continuing to do so.
Yes.
So, yeah. Yeah. Oh, so powerful. Thank you for that. I like, yeah. Yeah. In a space where I'm like, okay, yeah.
It blisses you out, right?
Yeah, totally.
Because our true vibration is really one of purity. So, to give another analogy, it's like if you imagine the pure white light that goes through a prism that turns into 7 colors, when we go into our true vibrational state, that state of purity, then we could be even more sensitive to the other colors of the spectrum. But if we're in triggers, or we're in overcompensating, or we're in the ego, then we're just in a distortion and mismatch of thing. So it makes it much more difficult to feel what's always present for you.
Yes, yes, yeah. It reminds me of a thing that I always like to remind myself. The moments in between reveal the energies unseen. And when you are out every day doing your things and you take a moment to stop, even just in the middle of your things, and look around you, and even just like looking out your window and observing the trees are dancing, observing the leaves, observing everything that you surround yourself with, looking and seeing even your body, you can see, wow, my body's just moving on its own. And that's your heart pumping blood to all of your body, a rhythm, your own rhythm. And so when you allow yourself to pause and take a moment, everything else becomes clear. It's like the contrast brings clarity. And then when you are in your own space, and maybe for some people, if they're like, well, I don't know how to tap into my own vibration, how do I know what my own vibration is? Once you just come into stillness and allow yourself to be, and you observe the other vibrations, those will become contrasted, and that will bring clarity to you. That sometimes if I'm like out doing things, or I'm just like been doing something for too long, and then something will happen and I am in resistance to it energetically, it's not of resonance to me, that contrast will immediately grant me clarity, and I have willpower activated, and I am in my space, and I know my vibration, my truth, my reason for being here.
Yes, exactly. So, so important to just step one, start with connecting to your vibration, whether you use breathing up and down your spine, just that'll help just release energies within you. Whether you just breathe, I like to breathe at 12 o'clock, like right up the midline of the bridge of my nose right here. It just gives a very simple focus point for people who are like, I can't meditate, I don't know how to meditate. Don't even look at it as meditation. If that's, you're just breathing and feeling yourself and allowing yourself to emanate.
We have some fairies in the room.
I was wondering, I'm like, what's she looking at? What are you channeling?
Fairies in the room, legit, actually, though. Okay, I want to see. We also want to open up for a Q&A. I'm slightly technologically challenged, so see how we could do this. All right. I pull up YouTube. Okay. Okay, let's see.
While you do that, I also want to say that once you're in that state of really feeling your vibration, the idea isn't to go looking for information or looking for something to channel. Much in the same way as when you're in the pool, you don't have to look for the currents that are hitting you. The idea is just to remain in a feeling state, to remain in a vibrational awareness so that you're just picking up on those subtle currents naturally. So don't go into a looking state, just remain in that state. And then you'll notice that if someone talks to you or asks you a question, rather than listening to their words, if you listen and feel their vibrations, that's going to ping you in a certain way and give you a certain kind of intuitive response. And that's kind of like a training wheel into channeling and using your gifts.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. So powerful. Yeah, and that actually literally just answered one of the questions.
Of course.
Oh, and yeah, I'm looking at some more of them. I love all of you guys. I want to say I love you too. You are all so amazing. Thank you so much for the donations, and you are incredible. All of these people. Oh, I just lost. Who is that person? Okay, sending you telepathic message. We have some rainbow halos around us.
Thank you so much for being here, guys. It's really an honor to have you here. Thank you.
Yeah, and David is so epic too. He has a YouTube channel. He has Instagram. You give sessions and help people tap in as well. Yes.
Yep, everything easiest is through my website, which is livingmagic.life, where for me, living magic is the opposite of living struggle. So livingmagic.life.
Yes, amazing. So yeah, visit him. Okay, we have some good questions.
Yes.
Let me say them so I can come back to the screen so I'm not looking like a crazy person looking at the screen crazy. Okay. We have one question. Why does evil and good exist? And also, do you believe we've all created bodily ailments within ourselves? And I feel like those are two really powerful questions. Also, if you guys want to ask more questions, please do. But yeah, essentially, duality and polarity is the formula that is currently present on Earth. And that is not necessarily true in all realms and dimensions, but in the one that we are currently playing out in physical form, that is the formula. So it's more so we can use like light and dark and evil and good as like labels to identify certain things, but energetically, they are not necessarily separate because in this earth realm right now, they're two parts of the same whole, essentially. Now we are shifting to a different dimension in which there isn't that evil or that darkness in the same way in which it is now, where it is in opposition to the light. It's actually going to be integrated and alchemized to where it won't be completely vanished, but it'll be completely different. There won't be opposition. It'll be harmony, where everything is working harmoniously. We are shifting to that state, but as of right now, this is what we are working through. So the best advice, suggestion is to not resist it, fear it, or yeah, I think this is a big thing. Okay, this is like a big thing for what's happening right now in the realms in the world too, and getting that we should totally talk about like everything that's been happening, especially in the past few days. It's so important to hold your integrity, stay sovereign in your truth, to speak your truth when you feel called, but to honor what is real for you on an internal level and really checking in with yourself and making sure that you allow yourself to integrate the information that's coming through. If it does spark anger, if it does trigger you, it's important to integrate all things before actually taking action, because we need you at your most powerful. We need you to be precise. The sloppy, like force action isn't working anymore. So it's important to, that's why this is so perfect, like channeling your energy and everything. In order to channel, you have to be a master and be in control of your energy, essentially be able to harness yourself. And this is helpful for everything in life right now. because this is like our initiation as a collective right now. And there are many things that are happening out in the government and in the collective right now that are being flooded into the media to distract us as well from the big picture, because there is a war on consciousness happening right now. This is actually occurring. So we are being essentially bombarded with lots of fake news, lots of real news, and lots of crazy things, so that we are confused, so that we're just like, I'm tired of it. So we freak out, so that we burn out, so that we give up, and that we are weak. And it's so important to maintain your awareness here, to stay strong and sovereign in your energy, your truth, harness, integrate, and yes, take action if you feel called to do so. And thank you. Please do. Oh, my computer's, I hear it. And did you hear that? Did you hear
Yeah.
the? And yeah, please take action if you feel called to. And if you don't know what to do and you don't know how to help and you feel helpless, hold the frequency, the vibration, the knowing. Hold vision of the future. We do end up shifting everything. We do end up connecting in unity. We do become harmonious. We do live and shift to a paradigm where we are living in benefit to all, where all is divine. We do move there. Hold that frequency, hold that knowing, and know that yes, we are physically existing in a timeline where shit is going crazy right now. But it's always been going crazy. It's just that people have been asleep to it. So many of us are like, we've been seeing this, like that's why we're not freaking out so much. That's why we're like, hey, let's hold the awareness. Hey, let's be smart about this. Hey, like strengthen yourself. Hey, breathe. Hey, you got this. Hey, we need you. Hey, like, yes, rather than just like exploding. It's because we've been knowing this shit has been happening. So yes, that's happening in this timeline right now, but prepare yourselves for where we're going.
Yes. Yes. So well said. So well said. And I guess to complement that, I would just say that the contrast is what inspires our expansion, right? When we see what we don't prefer, then we know what we do prefer.
Mhm.
And so, for example, like when we see animals getting slaughtered, it's a feedback to show us where we're at inside ourselves. Are you going to sit and look at it and go, I don't care? Or does that inspire you to create new systems, to create, to make, whether it's going vegan, whether it's to find new methods and new systems, so it's a feedback mechanism, that duality, so whether you want to call it good and evil, or what you do prefer and what you don't prefer, it inspires expansion and it shows you where you're at, so, for example, to bring something relevant to the table, this whole George Floyd incident that happened, I see a major, there's a major expansion that's happening with this, where often in the past, when these incidents would happen, people would be like, oh, my prayers and blessings, oh, my prayers and blessings, this is terrible, this needs to stop, but there would be no action. Where now what I'm seeing is people are like, here's the number, make the call, and here's the website, do this thing, and people are taking much bigger actions. So it's showing you as a reflection where you're at, if you're still being a passerby, or if you're taking action towards what you say you prefer, rather than waiting for your reflections to do something. So there's so many different ways of perceiving it, and rather than giving into the drama and the judgment of it, it's about attuning yourself to what you do prefer, and to even go to a higher perspective. I remember the other day I was giving a session to a client, and he was telling me about, he wanted to get some answers about something that was happening in his past, around a haunted house that he used to live in. And he was just like, he's like, can you tune into the haunted house and just tell me what was going on there? I'm like, I don't feel like it. I'd rather not. I was like, straight up. I'm like, however, what I can tell you is the purpose that it served. So rather than going into the drama of it, it served the purpose of showing you that these things really do exist, that the spiritual realm really does exist. Because had that not happened, you probably would have had a lot of doubt towards it, or thought it was just fluff, and just thought it was nothing. So if you look at the purpose it serves, then you're actually alchemizing that experience for the purpose that it was intended for.
Yeah.
Because from that higher perspective, if you look at things from the perspective of oneness rather than duality, demons are just angels in Halloween costumes,
Mm.
right? They're just there to inspire something in you. So they might put on that Halloween costume and haunt your house, but now they taught you that spiritual things are real so that you can go and become a psychic master or whatever the case is.
Right. Learn how to protect yourself. Yes. Trust that energies are real, and make your decision and devotion as a being, awaken yourself into intention. Which energies
Yes.
you want to feed? Okay, these exist. Okay. Inspires you. It gets you to
Big.
take action. Yeah. Move.
Exactly. So it's about harmonizing the polarities by seeing the purpose that it all serves and then moving from that space of oneness towards what you do prefer.
Yep. Yep. So powerful. Oh, thank you.
I know
And
there
yeah.
was another part to that question, but I don't remember what it was. Something about ailments.
Oh, yes. Did we sorry, I'm also looking at all the comments too. Do we bring on our personal physical ailments to ourselves? If you want to.
My personal belief. So I'll give it in two perspectives. From one perspective, a lot of ailments are caused by our emotional dis-ease, right? And this is science. We know that stress causes the shutdown of the immune system and causes all kinds of physical ailments that we don't prefer. So we know this even scientifically, that we cause it ourselves through our emotions a lot of the time. And from another perspective, you could say that sometimes the soul will choose to come explore a certain theme. So for example, let's say a soul who chooses to incarnate as a baby, who is born with horrible ailments that that no one would necessarily prefer, and chooses to come and live a very short life because it knows that by going through that ailment, it's actually going to be bringing its family together where they were very separated before. So from that higher perspective, sometimes the soul will choose to do so just to create more harmony amongst its family or its peers. So it depends what perspective you want to look at it from. And I know that could be a hard pill to swallow for certain people, but that's my opinion.
It's actually, yeah. And also, we don't always play that role. So like that same baby who maybe didn't have well, that's not fair. Other lives, it could be a king with the
Yes.
most luxurious everything. Yeah. So we choose these different experiences and incarnations and based on certain soul contracts and karmas and agreements and things that we have and support that we're also bringing. Yeah.
Yes.
And ailments, nothing is permanent. We have the ability to shift and alchemize and restructure and rebuild everything, rewrite everything. Actually, you can speak to your body for 30 days straight to something and it can completely change. It can
Yes.
completely change, even shorter than that, but that's a good, and maybe even longer than that, depending on your belief systems and how much you give yourself permission to believe yourself. But
Yes.
essentially, ailments and imbalances are kind of they're opportunities. They really are gifts in a sense because they are things that require you to create a new way, to see a new way, to understand your functioning, to see a different perspective of process, essentially, and to create a new way, to heal.
Yes.
And to perhaps through your personal ailment, you end up discovering a certain type of medicine that has yet to be discovered, whether that is emotionally, an emotional process, a mental process, whether it's energetically, or whether it's something physical that then is medicine for other people too. So yeah, our ailments, our imbalances are our gifts. And personally, my ailment I always think of is my childhood, how it's I did nothing as a child to be born into that situation at all whatsoever. And even through it, I was still being a good child. I didn't keep deserving it. However, it was there and it kept going. And it was for that period of time, no matter how I was, because it was teaching me how to be me. It was strengthening me. It was taking me through so many different perspectives, and all of the psychological trauma and torture that I experienced, I now have discovered ways to transmute that and to navigate through those psychological things, projections that were sprayed at me as a child, and I had no shield at all. But now I know how to work through things and how to navigate things, and also to see things clearly from miles away. I can see things clearly now. And now I'm able to tap into and see realms as I do, I think largely in part because of the expansion of my psyche through healing what I experienced as a child. So yes, everything. We do essentially one way or another. And maybe not in this life. Maybe
Yes.
it wasn't like this life that you brought it in. And that's also a big thing. There's like the spiritual thing of like, whatever you're manifesting in your life, like you're calling it in. That's your vibration. That means that's where your frequency's at. And while that is true, it's not always true, because often we can experience things in our lives that we didn't create or attract in that life at all whatsoever, or in that situation or in the months prior, but was part of our soul contract or karma or agreement that is a part of our mission and our purpose here.
So good. That's actually such a good subtlety to touch on, because a lot of people are aware of our vibrational attraction. However, there's also our karmic attraction, and also the awareness that our higher self has its own vibration and thus has its own point of attraction and manifestation. So there's so many different, this is why we're multidimensional. There's so many different elements that play into this soup we call reality to take into account.
Yes, 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 yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I'm curious if you ever experience any, for lack of a better word, any trouble with your gifts. And if so, what do you do to dance with it or to remedy it?
Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily say like trouble with them, but I just different phases where it's like sometimes my channel will be so open and it's like I'm not intentionally opening or activating or trying to talk to any of these ascended masters or guides, but it's just happening. It's just happening. This idea, this song, this verse, this post, this everything, this video, it just is like overflowing. And that's like when my channel is like activated. And then there's other periods of time, like the week after, where I just feel like chilling. And it's like, I
Yes.
could for sure tap in and channel right now, but resting and just kind of like being feels so much better. And so that lack of inspiration could be perceived as like, because I've observed subconsciously a part of me be like, wait, should we be worried about this? Should we judge ourselves? Is this a bad thing? Is something wrong? Am I out of alignment because I don't have this overflowing creative energy? And it's like, no, this is nice. Let's just chill. And
Yes.
when I like, so the answer to that is, what do? I never resist it. Like whatever I'm experiencing. And I've even experienced actually a period of time where it was like 2 years ago, where it felt like my guides and my angels gone. Like just like no one would talk to me. No one would talk to me. No one would answer the call, voicemails. I would call nonstop and no one would answer me, it felt like, and no one would call me either. And it just felt kind of like empty in the higher realms, because it's usually pretty prominent or energetically significant when I feel a channel or an energy come through. It's very, very, very significant and energetically like impacting. And for that period of time, I felt like I experienced nothing. I was still able to, of course, like be positive about things and be myself, but it just wasn't the same. And in that time, there was a period where I was like crying and I'm like, please talk to me, like, why? I do so much, I'm trying so hard. And I found that was actually necessary, because it allowed me to purge an energy of not asking for help and for having to do everything on my own all the time. Because although I consciously know I don't have to do everything on my own and I can't do everything on my own and I don't want to do everything on my own, but there's that subconscious survival mechanism that I experienced from childhood. It's like saying that. So there was this energy that I needed to purge, finally allowed it to purge. And a huge creative energy. A major project that I ended up creating came right after that, and it's like the energy came through too. After like I
Mhm.
think like a few months though, it's like 2 months. I feel like a significant period of time. So it was like I allowed myself to have that purge, and then I just released, and then I just like let it go and didn't fight it. And I find that that's always the answer. And so now, and then it came back, and now it's been, and it's high, and I'm here, and it's yay, and it's better than ever, and it was better than ever. That's actually what happened, and that's always what's happening when we
Yes.
experience like these like pullbacks, or we forget. It's like just so we can remember, like we come back to this space, we move away from this space and come back to this space to recalibrate. We're recalibrating
Yes.
in that movement. We're building, we're strengthening, we're adapting.
Perfectly said. I love that. I love that. Yeah. And
How about
one of the
you?
yeah, no, yeah, I've definitely had moments of that as well, which I'll speak to. And but what I was going to say is like one of the reminders that just came in
Mm,
is the reminder that y- you are your gifts, right?
mm,
It's like we are the gift from God. You know,
mhm,
and this is definitely something that I sway in from time to time, because it's like, if I were to give an analogy for my gifts, it's like experiencing myself as the sun, and the rays of my shine are what I experience as my gifts. And
mm,
then there's the remembrance that I sway in and out of like, and I am the gifts, right? And I am that gift from God. And because sometimes, it's the gift of our humanness that is most needed from those who are around, as opposed to our spiritual ability and so on. Like sometimes they just need our humanness to
yeah,
receive whatever they most need to receive. And other times they need that celestial flow.
right.
But I could absolutely remember times. There's two stories in particular that really stand out to me. I remember one time, this is when my gifts were really first really coming online back in 2012, and I was teaching energy and intuition classes to show other people how to activate their gifts.
Mm,
And because this was all new to me, and like I was constantly in communication with spirit guides, I started to develop I started to put my spirit guides on a pedestal as if they were better than me.
mm,
And ultimately, like I always share, the purpose of our guides is to make us a better guide of ourselves, right? It's not to take our power away. So I remember one class when I was teaching, I went to tune into my guides and they just weren't there. And this was like the first time that this ever happened. And I started to panic, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know if I should end the class. And then so through humility and just vulnerability, at some point, I'm like, all right, well, I was still able to do things before I had guides telling me what to do. So I just spoke from my heart, and I used my heart strength. And
mm,
as soon as I started to do that, all of a sudden, then my guides came back in, and they were like, that's what we wanted you to see. We
yeah,
don't want you to place us on a pedestal. We are equals.
mhm,
So they will play games like that sometimes just to help you see things.
yeah.
And so that was a really powerful lesson for me. I never forgot it.
Wow.
And yeah, and another time, this was actually this past January. This was probably the darkest time of my life, where I was going through lots of death experiences. My cat had just passed away, and there was just lots of death manifestations happening around me. And so I was in a really dark space. I was at my brother's house in Toronto, and it was the first time in my life that I had no sense of, forget about sensing my gifts and channeling and all that stuff. I didn't even have a sense of the divine. I didn't have the sense of the divine. I didn't have a sense of God, which that's never happened to me in my life since I was a kid. I've always had that sense of the divine, of God. I was in a space where all that sounded like fairy tale.
Wow.
And I didn't know if I was like, have I been making it up all this time? Like I was in one of those zones. And so it literally felt like starting from the darkest space from scratch and learning how to find my way back. Because it's like, I feel like life was reteaching me the basics. I had climbed the ladders so high, and now it was just like, okay, if you're going to be teaching this stuff, David, you got to remember the basics again.
Yeah.
And so I went through it for a good couple weeks, maybe longer. I don't remember exactly, until I eventually realized that step one for me was stop resisting life. I was in such a resistance to life, to getting kicked out of America to this happening and that happening. And, so because I was resisting life, that means I'm also resisting truth. And if I'm resisting truth, that means I'm resisting the truth of my divinity and the truth of my own gifts. So it all goes hand in hand. And so that was a really great eye opener and lesson for me that hopefully people could take some things out of.
Yes. Oh, so powerful. And yeah, like here you are, glowing, shining, embodying a new energy, completely rebirthed, reborn, integrated so many new codes and like perspectives. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everything's always working out best case scenario.
Best case scenario. Better and better.
Yes.
Yeah. And something that I think is really important that all of this has been sparking is, so we have guides, and when we channel, essentially the concept of like, here words can only conceptualize so much, but the concept of something being outside of yourself and inside of yourself, essentially, yes, it is all within. And these guides that we connect to and the energies that we channel are essentially just different expressions of ourselves. They are different versions of ourselves that we give permission to, or have given themselves permission, essentially, to embody a certain energy, personality, ability, confidence, knowing, whatever it
Yes.
is. And these guides are a part of us. So, yes, it is us, but you will observe once you do allow yourself to start connecting with these guides and tapping into them, they do have their own energy. They do have their own
Yes.
power, their own abilities, their own magic, their own message beyond what perhaps your human would have been able to conceptualize or think of. So you will notice that once you give yourself permission to really connect with sources beyond yours, that again are other expressions of yours, because we are all derived of the same source. We are all of the same source. It's just that we express in different ways, and that's a part of duality and polarity, so that we can play different roles, so that we can support different angles and energies and support the whole. If we were all the same, doing the same thing with the same abilities, we'd all show up at the end and be like, we're all the same. Like we're missing a whole everything. Like we only have this. We need the diversity. That is the whole. The whole
Yes.
is the diversity. So
Yes.
it's like we allow ourselves to connect and tap into these other energies and channel these other things, but again, essentially into the one being, into the self. So yes, we are channeling, and that's also a thing. People like taking like my stuff and being like, well, you channeled it, so it's not yours. And it's like, well, just because they channeled it doesn't mean that it's not through me. Like it's still my expression, my version of the energy, because if someone was tapping into perhaps that same channel and information and message, they'd translate it in a completely different way.
That's it.
So,
The music that comes through the flute is still the music of the flute.
right. Yes. But the person playing it, yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
And just to complement what you said with an analogy, speaking of like, are guides separate of you? Are they also you? To give an analogy for that, again, to go back to that visual of imagining the pure white light that goes through the prism and turns into 7 colors. That the totality of your being, you as source are the pure white light, and you're experiencing yourself in separateness so that you can have different flavors to experience yourself in. But in the human experience, let's just say that you're the green ray. Now, the main difference between your intuition and your guides is that your intuition tells you things that you know within your ray and vibration, and your guides tell you things that you don't know. So you might be at one spectrum of your greenness, and then with your intuition, you get higher spectrums of green, or maybe direct from source. They're things that you know within you in that context. However, when you're speaking to your guides, it's like also speaking to violet and to blue. So they do have their own individual consciousness. And from that perspective, they are separate of you. However, from the perspective of source, they are all aspects of you. So it really depends what dimension of consciousness you want to look at this from.
Yes. Yeah. Perceptual awareness. Yeah. Because all realities exist. If you believe and tap into and choose to see from a reality of like, I don't have any guides, no one's around here, like I'm in this room alone, no one's talking to me. Like then you're right. You're right. You are alone in that realm. But if you choose to perceive, okay, not only am I not alone here because everyone else is existing here on this same earth with the same heart pumping blood and consciousness, and thoughts are going, and I'm receiving telepathy, and I'm feeling energy and support from a higher guidance, and right outside is nature literally dancing in the wind, just moving on its own, breathing, supporting us all with vibrant life every single second of our lives, then you will experience that reality. So it's all about what you choose to perceive.
Yes, exactly. And you know, and even just to ground this in a little bit more for you guys, one of the main languages of your guides is inspiration. You know, when you receive inspiration, it's not you who thought of it. All of a sudden you get this flash of genius that you're just like, oh, that's amazing. That's what I'm going to do. And it feels perfect in that moment. And it's only later on when you go back and reflect on it with your mind that you can begin to poke holes in it and have doubts and figure out why that won't work. But the reason why it was so perfect in the moment is because you were channeling your guides. You were channeling guidance saying, do this, trust this inspiration, be in spirit, and it will lead you to more magic.
Yes. Yes, I love that. Yeah, inspiration is the direction. That is the direction. Where do I go? What do I do? Stop, chill until you're inspired. And then you'll know.
It's like, how many times have you received a random inspiration that when you acted on it, all of a sudden it led to all this synchronicity of right place, right time, met this person that you didn't expect to meet, you bumped into your best friend that you were just talking about that you hadn't seen in 10 years, or whatever the case may be. That's your guides. That's the guidance. One of the avenues is through inspiration, and that's why it leads to those synchronicities of right place, right times, because they're guiding your reality. They're steering you through the waves of your consciousness.
Yes, and essentially that's just you being tapped into your frequency. That's just you being attuned to who and what you are, and then literally everything will manifest from there. So whenever, if you are experiencing a time where for a while, or maybe for a few minutes, or for days, or whatever the amount of time, which is soon to be irrelevant anyways, has been, that you feel like you've been off, or not connected, or not inspired, or on the wrong, out of alignment in any way whatsoever, just stop.
Yes.
Just stop, chill, be still, rest. Don't take action. Don't force yourself into anything until you're inspired. Don't do something that's like, I have to do this in order for this. Is rebel. Do not.
You're really touching on something very important there that I love to talk about. I think is extremely relevant.
Yeah.
Is, you know, and I would imagine that you're like this as well, but just speaking for myself, I only act on things that I'm inspired by. I only live from inspiration. I only live from intuition. I literally do not do anything, literally zero, that I don't want to do.
Yep.
And when I say that I don't want to do, I've linked my wants to that of my spirit. You know, so there are times that my spirit will call me to do something and my human body will be like, ugh. But
Right.
so when I say want to do, I really mean my spiritual wants. When there's that calling, when there's that guidance, I only do things that I want to do
That you're
because I know
excited about.
that I'm
Yeah.
excited about.
That's
Exactly.
feel good. That's like a fuck yes.
100%.
Yeah.
There's no other way of reality for me because it doesn't actually make sense. It's the most productive way to live our lives. It's the most effective way to live our lives is to act on our inspirations and our intuitions every moment that we can. And if you happen to be in a space where you're like, well, I can't sense my intuitions and inspirations, that's okay. Like Heather was saying, it's taking a time to sit back, go into stillness. And what I always recommend is just move in the direction of a lighter feeling. So if you're in a state of like, oh, I'm trying to figure this out because I have to do this thing, ask yourself, okay, what's the direction of a lighter feeling? And it might be, you know what? Taking a walk feels like a lighter feeling. And so now by taking that walk, you've raised your vibration from here to here. And then as you take that walk, the sun's going to be beaming on you. So all of a sudden you go into gratitude and joy, and it starts to raise your vibration even more until you come into the vibrational vicinity of inspiration and intuition once more, so that you can hear what was always there for you. So there's always a way to dance with that energy if you're willing to listen to it and willing to honor yourself.
Yes, and the inspiration is your intuition. That is what is calling you forward. And if you aren't acting from inspiration, if you do force yourself to do something, like I so resonate with that, like to the T, where it's like even anything I'm like responding to or having to do or taking something out, if it's like I do not want to do this right now, or I like find myself oh, like I have to respond, or this, I'm like, oh, I'm not responding with that energy. There's no way I'm giving that to that person. No, I will come back when I'm in a good space and I'm like, oh, I get to respond to this stuff. Awesome. Because everything in context can end up being overwhelming or not seem exciting. So that is like a perfect thing. The things that you like are to do and maybe like you lost your inspiration to do, but are still aligned with your soul and still feel good and are aligned with your mission and purpose, but you temporarily just got unmotivated about, just follow the light feeling, raise your vibration and come back only when it feels right. And if it doesn't feel right, do not ever force yourself to do it. You're forcing yourself then into a timeline that is not meant for you, because your body and being is telling you, hey, not right now. Just give it like 40 minutes. Watch what happens. Watch what happens to you in 40 minutes. It's like, okay, all right. I don't feel called to do that at all. Okay. I'm not even judging myself for that. God, do not want to do that. Okay. Coming back and it's like, oh, wow. Now when I responded, this person had this in which I was inquiring about, that connected, and now this happens. You know, it's like, yeah.
Yes. And
inspired about, motivated about.
yes, and just to speak into that even more, we're really living in a time where it's easy. It's easy to have access to infinite guidance. And the reason why I use the word easy is because we're not living in a war zone. If you're watching this video, you're not in a war zone. You're not in that kind of survival mode where you're trying to save your own life. We have much more of the foundation of freedom where we are. We might have certain stresses or whatever case may be, but we're not in a war zone. So that means you have the time and space, especially now during quarantine or during the chrysalis, as I like to call it, as we're butterflying even more, you have all the time and space to connect within, to connect to your true vibration, to follow the lighter feeling, and it's okay if the mind comes up and the fears come up of like, yeah, but as soon as you hear, yeah, but that's the ego. So as soon as you hear, yeah, but I have to, notice the texture of those feelings. If the texture of those feelings feels heavy, feels like grinding, then that's not your natural self. Now, with your physical mind, you might not understand how you going for a walk when you have all this work to do is actually going to be productive. Your higher mind knows that by you choosing to go towards the lighter feeling, you're going to be embodying more light, which is going to lighten up your thoughts and your behaviors and your actions, put you in tune with the inspiration that's been waiting for you, or the intuition that's been waiting for you, that's going to go like, oh, all I have to do is this. And then you take that action and it equals magic. It manifests magic for you. So that's why I say we're in a time where it's easy to be in tune with this guidance. It's both simple and easy and necessary, because it is literally your birthright to dance with life at this point, to let life feed you like an umbilical cord. You don't have to figure things out. You can tune into where things are already figured out for you.
And where you're guided upon it. Yeah. And yeah, that's so big, because it is so necessary right now to be doing this and to be really connecting with yourself on this level. Because in one perspective, we're not like in a war zone, but in another perspective, we are in a war on consciousness, and we have been, and we all are. And everything is designed to not allow you to connect with yourself, to not allow you to actually tap into and be your authentic, real soul version of self and express that and honor yourself. So yeah, this is like necessary at this point. And that is the rebellion right now, is connecting to yourself and really getting to know yourself and mastering yourself. The rebellion is being peaceful right now. Rebellion is choosing light right now. The rebellion is honoring yourself regardless of what the media is saying or other people are trying to project fear about. Oh, if you believe that, then this is it. Rebel. I'm good. I'm good. That's the rebellion.
I love that. Rebel with peace.
Yes.
Rebel with lightness. I love that. So good.
Feeling that. Oh, well, it's been so good connecting with you on here. My computer is dying. I could go try and run and find it, or we should just go live again maybe like this week.
We can do both. What's your inspiration?
Oh, what am I inspired to do? I'm kind of hungry. I haven't eaten today. So I think my inspiration is to go eat.
Cool.
And come back on here.
Let's do it. I'm down with it.
Yay. Beautiful magical beings. Oh, I love this. Let's see. I'm going to tap into the comments just real quick. And yeah, if you want to share any last things, opening up the space for a divine David Lion transmission.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for you guys for tuning in and for jamming with us and playing with us. I really hope that it was helpful, that it was useful, that it was practical for you, and that you got some things in here that you could immediately apply into your lives. If you happen to want to connect with me more, it would be my pleasure. My name again is David Lion, Lion like the animal, and my website is www.livingmagic.life. And on Instagram, you could find me at Lionism. Lion like the animal, ism like Buddhism. Lionism.
I love it. And he's so magical, as you have seen. And we will be connecting more on here, so stay tuned. Also, as you said, I hope it was useful. I was reading a comment literally saying, thank you so much. That was so useful. At time. So it was just like, all right. And yeah, thank you so much, beautiful beings. You are all so amazing. I love reading your comments and you helping each other and answering each other's questions and supporting each other and being so positive. It is so incredible. Thank you for being a part of this community, the collective consciousness, the heart love, all that we cultivate here ripples out and gets shared and amplified among the collective. So thank you for tapping in. Thank you for being you. And thank you so much, David.
If I could share one more thing that just came in over here, what I think might be really useful for you guys, if you want a good next step, there's a video on my channel called How to Have Sex with Life. And I have a strong feeling that a lot of you will get a lot out of that in terms of being able to feel the in-streamings of life more powerfully and being able to open yourself up to those natural currents that are always hitting your being. So it's called How to Have Sex with Life. Check it out.
I have a strong feeling that people will look at it just because of the name of it.
Well,
yes.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Making love to all that we experience because that's what we're here to do. It's a frequency. It's a vibe. Okay, I'm getting crazy. I
wish I could do that, but I can't do it with my.
All right, love you, beautiful magical beings. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you, David. You are so epic. Appreciate you.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Heather. It's been a pleasure.
We will be back soon. Blessings, blessings. All right, see if I can end this.